right, folks, today is Saturday, July 1st, 2023. It's 4th of July weekend. Got a 4-day weekend ahead. Been under the weather again all week. Plus, it's been hot. My intentions were to have this thing painted by 4th of July, but obviously it's not happening. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to reblock the entire car. I don't know where we left off. I don't think the fenders were on, but we kind of hung the fenders, just kind of mocked them up, see how they're going to fit, and see what shows on the firewall, stuff like that. And the fenders fit pretty good. So as we said previously, I believe in the last video, I was going to do a little bit of finessing down here because it's kind of caved in a little bit right here to the rocker. And I'm going to reblock this whole thing in 180. Now when I blocked it previously, so right now this whole thing is in epoxy. It's in bare metal, epoxy, filler, and epoxy. And I believe I finished it in 180. And some areas have 80 grit scratches still. But the bulk of it is in 180. So what I was going to do is reblock this whole thing in 180 today, hopefully. And then re-epoxy it. I got more epoxy. And then probably Monday morning, Featherfill polyester primer. The whole thing is one piece. And then go from there. I remember I need a little bit more work on this fender. It's kind of a little bit more filler work. But as far as the doors, the shell, and the trunk, I think it's going to block down real nice. All the holes have been drilled, so no more drilling. I got the trunk trim on. These are NOS, as I mentioned previously, so they fit great. That's used. I'm gonna get that chrome plated. So the trunk fits overall pretty good. Got a little bit of action right here, but I really don't want to go piling on filler to make the gaps look perfect, because I would rather have the gap just a hair off with no filler than to have a lot of filler on the edge, especially being a convertible. This thing's going to move, the trunk's going to shift a little bit, especially having hydraulics. So I'm not really trying to go for a SEMA show quality paint job, but I do want something really nice. So that being said, I'm going to use the black diamond sanding blocks. They're around here somewhere. Did a review on those. And just block this epoxy down. So I think it's going to block down pretty good. Like I say, it's already been blocked a couple times. Block it down, re-epoxy it, wait 48 hours, go straight to the polyester primer without sanding anything. And then I want to let that sit for at least a week in the sun, possibly longer, and before I block that down. So we're moving right along. I don't think the dash needs much. Some areas I'm not gonna polyester because you don't need it. I'm gonna wait for 2K, you know, such as like inside here, around the inside of the door jambs. You don't need polyester primer in there. Just regular 2K, really just epoxy work, but don't want a whole lot of buildup where we don't need it. So that being said, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I think this is gonna take me probably about 4 hours. It's only supposed to be 97 degrees today, so I'm gonna be enjoying this cold front we have. It's been well over 100 for the past 2 weeks, so it's extremely hot. But that being said, let me get to work, and I'll bring you guys back once I get some work in. All right, here we are. It's 4 o'clock. It's been 8 hours, and it's at least 100 degrees out here now. And I got basically from the doors back in 180 grit. I used the majority of the time I used the black diamonds. I got a big mess over here. It's a black diamond, short one, mainly the long one. 180 Sunmite. Didn't find much over here. A little bit on the wheel well. I did spread a little bit of filler here to kind of help out with the gap, and just a tad down there below. Door blocked out great. Did put a little bit here, help out with the transition. Not much. Need a little bit here, which I already knew. And then I found some spots on the trunk, which I kind of had an idea over there on the driver's side, But once you put the block to it, it told you the truth. A little bit back here. There we go. Put a little bit here, kind of help out with the transition. A little bit here. It's not even, might be a 1/16 of an inch thick. Nothing on this door. I just adjusted the striker, so that looks great. I'm liking that. Nothing on this whole side. And the tail panel. Didn't spend a whole lot of time on where the tail panel goes, the aluminum pieces, because that's just a waste of materials. So basically I blew this thing off with a leaf blower right now, taking a break. I'm going to take these fenders off because I'm not going to re-epoxy those. This one needs more work. The other side might be good, but this one needs more work. So what I want to do is get this thing in epoxy early in the morning before it gets hot. Early in the morning, 2 coats, and then come back on Tuesday and go straight to the Featherfill. I want to Featherfill the doors, the shell, and the trunk all at one time, and then take the doors off, block those off. It is a challenge with these black diamonds blocking, you know, not flat, because they are kind of heavy. Oh, man, these allergies out here, it's miserable out here. In the sun, it's easily 110. So yeah, let me get these fenders off, get my little room cleaned up, get this thing set up for tomorrow morning, and bring you guys back in the morning once I get my epoxy going. All right, we're back. It is Sunday morning. The following day, I believe, is July 2nd, and it's much more manageable. It's 82 degrees in here now. Once I get these fans going, I'll bring it down to about 80. So what I did was basically yesterday, I blew this whole thing off and wiped it down with the solvent-based wax and grease remover about 3 times. Used my professional grade wipes that I bought, and it's been sitting. So all I'm gonna do now, I mixed up 2 quarts of epoxy, full strength, 1:1. It should be enough. If it's more, that's okay, because I have a hood to work on probably tomorrow. So hopefully I have some left over. I'm gonna tack it off real quick. Tack it off, blow it off, and hook it up, get straight to spraying. I set everything up, so all I have to do is come in and plug and play this morning. So it's pretty clean. Driver's side looking great. Didn't have a whole lot of breakthrough. Didn't have any breakthrough, actually. A little bit right there. A little bit right there. And it's pretty straightforward. So what I plan to do is epoxy this 2 coats. Excuse me. Still under the weather here. Epoxy this 2 coats. Let it sit in here for 2 days till Tuesday morning. Come in, spray Featherfill polyester primer. I'm not sure that it even needs the Featherfill. Once I waxed and greased it down yesterday, the reflection was looking real good, but I'm gonna use it for insurance, and I'll probably skip 2K primer altogether. We'll see how it goes, but I'm definitely gonna Featherfill it. Just some troubled areas, mainly around the wheel well lip, you know, a little bit around the trunk, but not much at all. It's looking good. So I'm gonna be using the Vevor gun. It's all I got right now for my epoxy. My other DeVille is kind of crapped out on me, so Vevor is good for that. Like I say, 2 quarts. Got it mixed up since yesterday. It's been inducing. So let me get hooked up, get this thing sprayed. I'll bring you guys back. All right. So here we are. About an hour later. It's now 84 degrees in here. 83% humidity. I'm still sweating. But the plan worked pretty good. I wanted to get an earlier start, but 7 o'clock is early enough, especially on a Sunday. Anyways, I had about an ounce left, maybe 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces, which is great because I'm going to do a little bit of spot filler work on the hood, on the front, to make the molding fit a little better. So that'll work for that. So got this thing in 2 coats. It took basically two full sprayable quarts. And from the looks of it, I like the way it's looking. So like I said, what I'm gonna do now, yeah, that looks good. So let this thing sit for 48 hours per the SPI epoxy data sheet, then come in on Tuesday morning and probably spray two full quarts of Featherfill over this whole thing. No sanding required. Might denib maybe, but I mean the whole thing is gonna get sanded again. One thing I will note is I don't think I'm gonna paint the car on this rotisserie. It's really hard to get to the trunk without rubbing the quarter panel. I mean, I guess I could sit here and tilt the rotisserie, but that's just way more work, especially when it's a one-man show. Plus this car is extremely heavy. So anyways, what I want to do is come in on Tuesday morning, get this thing in Featherfill. I'm really anxious to spray the Featherfill because I've had it for like 6 months inside the house and I don't want it to go bad. So bring you guys back on Tuesday morning when we start spraying that. All right. Today is Tuesday, July 4th, 2023. Mild 81 degrees, it's 7 in the morning, and I want to get this thing in Featherfill before it gets too hot. So personally, I've never sprayed Featherfill. I've sprayed slick sand and super build, and this is pretty much like slick sand. It uses this resin type of hardener. I'm gonna spray 2 quarts, so excuse me, this gallon comes with 4 of these. So 2 quarts would be half of a gallon, so 1 tube in each cup. And we're gonna go directly on top of this epoxy that's been sitting for 2 days. No sanding, just gonna get right to it. I'm gonna be using a Iwata Ergunza 2.0 tip. It's basically my primer gun. And it'll spray this polyester primer in pretty decently in mild temperatures. So yeah, 2 coats. The can says wait 10 minutes between coats, so this ain't gonna take long. I'll be in and out, and then I'm gonna let this thing sit for however long, weeks, months, days, doesn't matter. Before I come back, I have some other panels that I need to catch up, bring up to speed with the shell here, but that's the goal for today. So let me get to mixing. I'll bring you guys back. All right, we got 1 coat on. A sprayable quart is exactly enough for the shell. So we're working out good. A key takeaway from this stuff is that you don't want to mix both quarts at the same time. There's no need. You mix it as you go because you got to get rid of this stuff quick, or else it's gonna get hard in your gun, and it's gonna ruin the gun. So I didn't mix up this when I poured it. That way we were ready to go, but I didn't mix. Actually, I scooped it. When I have a brand new gallon, excuse me, when I have a brand new gallon, I prefer to scoop it out. I have these stainless steel mixing cups. I scoop it out instead of pouring it out because it makes a mess when you try and pour out of a brand new gallon. So anyways, I'm spraying it with that Ergunza, about 30 PSI, full fluid, full fan, wide open. I don't even let off of the trigger. We're just slamming this stuff on. Only where it needs it. I went around the areas first where I thought, it needed a little bit of help. And I didn't spray areas that I don't think it needed, like around the door handles, down low by the rocker, because the rocker molding is going to cover that up. Tail panel, didn't spray anything on the tail panel where the aluminum trim goes. There's no point in putting material there if the trim's going to cover it up. I mean, you're just wasting material, you're wasting time. You're going to sit there and sand that, all for the trim to cover it up. Around the door handles and locks, I briefly dusted it on just to kind of blend it out. You don't want to like have a hard edge where you stop spraying because you gotta have to sand that. So kind of feathered it out around the door handles. You don't want a lot of buildup around the lock mechanism. Trim holes, you know, it's not hardly any on it. There's no need to put it around the trunk lock. You know, just got to think about what you're doing when you're spraying. You know, you don't need to put it where it don't need to be. Anyways, enough yakking. I'm gonna start this up for another minute or so, and go ahead and empty this cup out, and I'll bring you guys back once this thing is done. All right, we're back. 2 quarts later. It's 84 degrees in here. Plan worked. Get an early start. That way the material acts like it's supposed to. If you try and spray that stuff 100 degrees, it's probably going to be dry and rough and all other kind of stuff. So 2 quarts was exactly enough needed, almost exactly. Did have about an ounce left that I just kind of spotted in areas. So what I'm going to do now is let this thing sit. I'm going to bring up the still hot in here. I'm going to bring up the fenders and the hood to speed with the shell. I'm gonna 2K the dash, probably 2K the firewall. Get that up to speed. I'm gonna take the doors off. I'm gonna take the trunk off, block those on a stand, block the hood and everything on a stand. And I'm gonna let this sit for as long as needed. The longer the better. I'm gonna push it outside 2 or 3 weeks, months, I don't know. I wanna let it shrink, cure, move, flex, whatever it needs to do, gas out, let it all do that before we rush a paint job on it. Still plugging away. For those wondering, between the floor, quarters, bodywork, frame, over 800 hours in this car. Man hours. Not me personally, but a few of us total. So that's a lot. That's a lot of time. Professionals could probably get it done much faster with better equipment, tools, and knowledge. But hey, we're chipping away. Got all the glass. I've got a lot of stuff for this car. This is a big day for this car. If you guys follow the video, the channels, man, lower quarters were replaced. The driver's side quarter was replaced twice. We patched it first on the bottom, and I wasn't too happy with this peak right here. So I found a quarter panel off of Bel Air, and we replaced the whole quarter panel again, and that's why the holes are round instead of oval shaped. So split it here, put a new fin here in the video. The gap is in the trunk gutter. Doors are original. We put new floors. Just this one big chunk here. The dash is molded. Speaker delete, and the firewall's all smoothed out. So that's where we're at. So I'm done for the day. It's 4th of July. I'm gonna enjoy the holiday and get back to work tomorrow. And like I said, I'm gonna let this thing sit out in the sun for a few weeks and do its thing. And then we can do our thing to it. So hope you guys enjoyed this little update. Y'all stay tuned for more work. Thanks for watching.